sorry about that. I'm sorry to cut you. I just had to say that that's a great takeaway, that, you know, your work ethic and your parents who didn't have to make you work. They definitely could have said, oh, little Chuck, you know what? You just stay home and you take it easy. We don't want you to go through what we've had to go through to raise a family, right? You just take it easy. Instead, they said, you get your ass to work, Chuck, and you make some of your own money so you understand what it means, right?
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's elementary and middle school were not easy. I think today I probably would have been diagnosed as ADHD or, you know, something of that similar category. And, you know, the benefit was I was taught, right? I can make something of myself if I just got to find my path. And a big message I passed along to my kids, you know, I learned early what my no's were, right? So I knew going in that if I wasn't good at something or it wasn't coming easy or it was coming difficult, I could say no and then go find something that was easier, or I was more productive, or, you know, in some cases I made more money. And that was a big driver with our kids too, is helping them figure out what they don't want to do or what they're not good at, so that they can be more focused on what they love and what they are good at. You know, another big lesson coming out of that, one of the hardest things that was a decision for me was leaving Rhode Island to go to school in Cincinnati, the University of Cincinnati. You know, I had worked with my dad. I mean, I could easily say since I could walk, but I was carrying a hammer probably by the age of 8. I was leading some crews for Dad by my early teens. And Dad always talked about taking over the family business. He always talked about, you know, the oldest child, your responsibility is this and the responsibility of that. I'm his namesake. I'm the 4th. He's the 3rd. You know, it's a factor of pride in our, you know, in our simple upbringing, but it was pride. And to look my dad in the eye and say, look, I'm transferring from a school in Rhode Island out to Cincinnati because I think it paints a better picture for me. It creates better opportunities. Gary, was the best thing I ever did. I joined a fraternity. I met Molly in Cincinnati, my wife now of 32 years. And it gave us a great base to kick off from when I graduated college with a construction management degree. Because I was on my own. You know, I was out there I didn't know anyone. I had to go out there and kind of remake myself once I got there.
What made you pick Cincinnati University?
I started in Roger Williams College in Rhode Island in architecture. I always knew that I wanted to be a builder. I mean, I was the kid that was kicking off at job sites. I was the kid who was stealing lumber to build his tree forts and underground forts and, you know, et cetera. I started in architecture knowing I wanted to be a builder, but as I got into design, I was playing soccer at school, and, you know, soccer and school in college, or soccer and architecture in school, they don't mix. There's too much, you know, you need too much time behind the board. And they had just started a construction science program, which was essentially a part of the architecture program, a part of the business program, and then some construction courses weaved in. And I went from being, you know, in high school and middle school, an average to below average student, to loving, I mean, absolutely loving what I was studying. And, you know, it was the science of putting buildings together. And I made the dean's list, Gary, for the first time in my life. It was the first semester of my sophomore year. And a professor pulled me aside and he said, look, you clearly love what you're doing. You really ought to look at some of these other schools that have a little more mature program. I applied to Wisconsin-Madison, Colorado School of Mines, Florida, a school in Florida, and Cincinnati. And I kid you not, Gary, the decision maker for me was Dad and I were in Cincinnati. We showed up for my interview. We got lost in downtown Cincinnati. And this gentleman in a business suit noticed we clearly were lost. He said, hey, you look lost. Can I help you? He walked us a couple of blocks to where we needed to be, chatted us up, had a nice conversation. I got done with my interview and I said, Dad, this is where I want to be. This feels like home. And,
awesome.
You know, I finished my college career there.